doing a 10-minute video, and I'm going to be live streaming with ChatGPT here, and it's going to ask me 20 deep questions. I don't know what they are. I'm just going to respond to them, and yeah, we're going to see how this goes. Hey, ChatGPT, we are live on YouTube, so make sure all of your questions are YouTube friendly. But I have a request that you asked me. We play a game of 20 deep questions where you asked me a series of personal, philosophical, and playful questions, and then I will respond off the cuff. And then you can give a little bit of reflection back and ask me the next question. So make sure to only ask one question at a time, and make sure that we keep our responses fairly dialogue-y so we can move it along. We've got roughly about 10 minutes to record.
Absolutely, let's do it. Here's the first question. If you could relive one moment from your life to gain a new perspective or insight, which moment would you choose and why?
Holy crap, that's a really deep question right off the bat that I was not expecting. One attempt that I could relive to get a new perspective on. So the first one that comes up to me, honestly, is like when I had my first, like, I don't know, physical intimacy with a woman, and we were just like cuddling a lot, and I wanted to kiss her, but I thought like kissing was bad, and so I'm always curious if I didn't have that same perspective on it then that I had with purity culture, being raised really religious and a lot of shame around sex and stuff. If I felt like just comfortable with almost like the experience, I guess, that I have now to have like kissed her and like had confidence in myself, and felt like that would have been like a good, healthy, normal thing to do, which it would have been at 18 years old or 17 years old. Yeah, I think it would be that. That's the first thing I can really think of.
That's a really insightful reflection. It sounds like that moment holds a lot of meaning for you in terms of how your early beliefs shaped your confidence and approach to intimacy. Next question. What's one belief you've let go of over the years that significantly improved your life?
Can you repeat that one?
Of course. What's one belief you've let go of over the years that significantly improved your life?
One belief that I've let go of over the years that has significantly improved my life is that I was bad or wrong, unworthy. All those are kind of like interconnected, and that like I was, a terrible, awful sinner. I would say like that belief was something that really, really harmed me in so many different ways, that I thought I was bad. And unfortunately, realistically, through that own belief about myself, I would so never believe the positive things that people would say about me, that I would often distance myself from people that I loved. I wouldn't reach out to people to connect with them, and I would often unconsciously kind of distance myself away from people because my own self esteem was so low that I could ultimately end up hurting or disconnecting from people I really cared about.
Letting go of that belief must have been incredibly freeing. It's amazing how shifting from self criticism to self compassion can transform relationships and personal growth. Next question. If you could instantly master one new skill, what would it be and why?
If I could instantly master one new skill, what would it be and why? Oh, that feels interesting. I'm just gonna go with the first thing off the top of my head. I feel like it would be the skill to learn faster and better and quicker and more effectively. I would say almost like self mastery, like the skill of being like, oh, I really, really, really deeply understand myself, my unique brain, my unique ways that I'm doing things, what's actually working, what's actually not, how to like have my own personal productivity system. And I feel like I'm finding it more and more of there, but it's like letting go of all these things that I used to really hold on to, and now I'm like been in a lot more of a chaotic mode, which has been really, really great and ultimately deeply fulfilling and progressing me in a lot of different ways. And I still really desire a structure. Just it's just finding that structure that works for me, that allows me to have, what Ali Abdal calls like, feel good productivity. I'm looking for more of that for myself in a way that feels like I have both that balance and harmony of structure and flow in my life.
Mastering the skill of self understanding and personalized productivity would be a game changer. It's like having a blueprint for making the most of your unique strengths and rhythms. Ready for the next one? What's
Yep.
a playful you have that always makes you smile?
What's a what?
What's a playful or quirky habit you have that always makes you smile?
Playful or quirky habit that I have that always makes me smile is like probably daydreaming. Like just I can often just daydream about various things and like imagine various scenarios that I think are just very silly. And like my sister will catch me often. She's like the one who sees it more than anybody else. Probably I don't know why she notices it so much more, but I will just end up like talking to myself out loud or quietly and just like acting out different scenarios that I'm trying to work through in my head or like talking with somebody or whatever. And I start acting it out and she like laughs at me. And so I kind of laugh at myself when I do that now too. Yeah, and just like laughing at myself and like kind of the various ridiculous places my mind can go.
That's such a fun and creative habit. Daydreaming can definitely bring a lot of joy and inspiration. All right, next question. If you could have a dinner party with any three people, living or historical, who would you invite and what would you hope to learn from each of them?
Living or historical, living probably one would be Tim Ferriss, and I'd probably want to learn, I don't know, just about him and his life personally, how he became who he was, be why I would want to have him on my podcast and just hear about from him and learn how he navigates life, how I can maybe learn to navigate my own life better, and also just like thank him. I think he's inspired me and so many other people and men, and like he's influenced the world in such amazing ways that few people really, I think, grasp. Um, Another one for me would be Kobe Bryant. If I could bring him back from the grave, I think he's just somebody who so deeply influenced me, and it was his perseverance, his courage, his willingness to just drive hard and like reinvent himself later in life, even though he eventually passed away unexpectedly. He was such a person that I revered as a Laker fan and deeply impacted my life. And third, for right now, honestly, it would be Healthy Gamer, Dr. K, because he's somebody who I'm so fascinated by, and I'd want to learn how to, I don't know, what his guidance for me would be to help navigate my own healthy life, because he's somebody who trained as a monk for 7 years. He's a Harvard trained psychiatrist. He's so wise and knowledgeable, and he also does such a great job of helping people access themselves and tune into their own inner wisdom. And I would love his perspective on me and how I can do more of that.
That would be such an incredible mix of minds and energies at one table. You'd get so many unique insights from each of them. Let's keep it rolling. What's one piece of advice you'd give your younger self if you could?
Yeah, so I've said this about this before. I really wouldn't give myself like advice. Really, I really would have just like shown up for myself. I would have loved myself. I would have been there for him, let him know I was there. I would have checked in on him and let him know that if there's anything that he needed, he could reach out to me. And I would have made an effort to check in on him, and not expect him to do it. Right. I think one of the things that myself in like more of a mentor position with my family or with friends or younger people that I want to help grow is to make sure I'm putting out the effort, because I know for me, even when I had people reach out to me kindly, I would often feel like they weren't serious about it. And so I would want to just instill more confidence in him by showing up and letting him know that he's doing a great job. And if I can help him, that he would. And if he came to me and wanted specific things, then I would definitely give it to him.
That's a beautiful approach. Offering presence and support to your younger self rather than advice can be incredibly healing. Let's go with another question. What's a personal mantra or phrase you live by, and how has it shaped your decisions?
Yeah, so my mantra from last year was baby steps, and that really, really, really changed my life in a lot of different ways, even though I can still forget it. It's really inspired from reading Atomic Habits, and then I was in my men's group, and my buddy Ramsey just had said the word baby steps today. He was just taking baby steps, and I was like, that's my word or mantra for the year. And that intentional sense of like doing, again, this is like a Dr. K thing of doing what is not enough now so that I can eventually do what is enough, to have something that I'm building on top of, to take the smallest possible action that I can build the habit around and then grow from there. And also the encouragement. Like I think of baby steps with the idea of how when a baby is first learning to walk, right, they take steps and fall. And what we do for that child is we celebrate like they just won the Super Bowl. And yet, for ourselves as adults, when we're learning something new, we can often criticize and we do all these different things. And instead of like celebrating ourselves, so part of baby steps for me is also celebrating each of those tiny wins, each of those tiny steps, even when I'm failing, which honestly is very reflective for me because the last couple of episodes, my mouth is watering. I've been feeling kind of down and haven't been excited. And it's partly because I haven't been celebrating just like the fact that I'm showing up over and over and over again. Because it's through that showing up, I think that we find success and find victory and find the thing that we really want on the other end of it. And yeah, and so that would be, I guess, what comes up for me in short.
Baby steps is such a powerful mantra, and celebrating those small wins can really keep the momentum going. Thanks for sharing that. Let's dive into the next question. What's something you've recently learned about yourself that surprised you?
Something that really I learned about myself that really surprised me. But I really can lean into the fact that people think I'm a good, dope human being and that I'm actually pretty awesome and that it's okay and safe and good. And it's actually like, if I actually am a good person, I actually believe that it's important for me to do everything I can with that, to lead, to use the technologies that I can, to have power. Because if I, as a good person, choose to abdicate my power, I'm ultimately abdicating it to people who could be creating harm in the world, especially if their intentions are not good or if I think they're making mistakes or whatever it is. It's important for me to raise my own voice in ways that can influence and affect others because I am a good person.
That's a powerful realization and a great motivator for stepping into your influence and leadership. Owning your goodness and using it to make a positive impact is huge. Ready for the next one? What's a book or movie that profoundly changed your perspective, and how did it do so?
So the movie that I always think about with this is the movie Knocked Up. It really changed my perspective because it really showcased this really beautiful love story where people learned how to just accept what was happening. Right? It's like you have these people who are thrown in the situation with having a child, and instead of trying to fight the flow of it all, ultimately they decide to accept what's happening and move forward with it. I guess in some ways it wasn't so much of a perspective shift because it really related to so much of my own life early on in that phase with my dad being arrested and other things in my life that like you don't really get to choose a lot of what your life throws at you, but you can choose what you want to do with it. So just to give you one that I guess did shift my perspective, honestly, I think the first thing that I can think of is American X, American History X, where just like I don't know, I didn't really think that being an actor or telling stories could be that impactful. And then I saw that movie and I realized the power of storytelling, of being an actor, and the value that a powerful story can have on creating empathy in the world, of changing perspective, of having people encourage thoughtful and important dialogue because of it. Also, ChatGPT, if you can tell me what question we are on out of 20, that would be great. And after the 20th question, make sure that we say a little wrap up, thank you, and then we'll say goodbye.
American History X is definitely a profound example of how storytelling can shift perspectives and inspire empathy. Thanks for sharing that. We're at question 10 now. Let's keep going. If you had to describe the ultimate version of yourself in 3 words, what would they be and why?
The ultimate version of myself, I would say courageous, kind, and well, loving is kind of kind. So maybe it's courageous, loving, and wise. Like those three things. Oh, and why? Because I guess that feels like the trifecta. And in some ways, it's like power, wisdom, courage, like the Triforce, right? It just feels like those three things. If you have courage and you have the wisdom of like how to navigate the courage, you're not just being reckless, and then you also have the love that is a part of that. I think you can make a tremendous amount of good in the world.
I love that combination. Courage, love, and wisdom really do form a powerful trifecta. Let's keep the momentum. What's a small, seemingly insignificant decision you made that ended up having a huge impact on your life?
Small, meaningful a decision that I made that made a big impact on my life is simply saving $50 to $100 a month automatically and letting that build over time, both with investing or with saving and just building an account and not really thinking about it. It makes such a tremendous difference because within a shorter period of time than you realize, you save money. And like just having that habit, even again, if it's really, really small, if it's only $5 that you can save and just have that automatically happening, it starts the habit of saving your wealth. It creates the habit of investing, about thinking about money differently. So I would say that that is one of the small, seemingly insignificant ones that I changed that made a huge impact later on in my life.
That's a fantastic example of how small, consistent actions can lead to big results over time. Awesome insight. Next question. If you could instantly solve one global issue, what would it be and why?
Holy crap! I mean, one global issue, um, poverty. I mean, I think functionally, if we could figure out how to raise everyone out of poverty, out of scarcity, out of the fear of death that comes from a lack of resources, of healthy water, of food. I don't just mean money, but I mean like actual tangible wealth. If there was a way to give everybody a healthy baseline of the things that we need in life, the food, the connection, the water, the air, the human connection and safety that is there to move us out of these like endless status games and war and fighting over territories. I think it would that would be like the simplest and also maybe vaguest way to answer that question.
Addressing poverty at a fundamental level would indeed transform so many aspects of the world. Great choice. All right, let's move on. What's a hobby or interest you've always wanted to try but haven't yet, and what's holding you back?
I would say it's probably cooking, like really, really learning the art of cooking. I love food. I love to eat, and I like the idea of cooking. And I would love to go through Tim Ferriss's 4 Hour Chef. It would be super fun to do with a group of people. I've thought about doing like an online community thing around it to get people like inspired and just do it with other people because I think that would make it really fun. And I guess what's been holding me back is just it feels daunting. It feels like a lot. It feels like a lot to take on, and often it's not something that I think of that's like moving the needle with my career or with other aspects of my life, and so it often just gets thrown on the back burner because I'm can be very content, and mostly I am, and like I don't have any real issue with this. So it's just like cooking really simple, easy things on a regular basis, like rice and meat, and making sure I'm hitting my macros and kind of going from there. And like I love to cook during like Thanksgiving dinner and other things, and so it'd be cool to have more of a mastery of that skill and be able to like impress somebody with a date really like a date that's coming over really easily, or be able to do something for my friends. I have a friend Gotham who is an amazing cook, and he has us over, and I'm always like, this is so great, and I want to be able to do that for myself. And it just there's always just things I guess in my mind that get in the way.
That makes a lot of sense. Cooking can definitely feel daunting, but it sounds like it could be a really fulfilling creative outlet for you. All right, let's keep going. If you could have a meaningful conversation with your future self from 20 years ahead, what's one question you'd want to ask them?
What's one question I'd want to ask myself 20 years into the future? What? God, I have
That
no idea. Um, what would I ask? I would probably ask, how am I doing? Am I doing all right? Am I going in the right direction? Is there anything I need to really adjust? Um, what wisdom do you have for me that would positively impact my life and the lives of others around me right now?
that's a heartfelt and powerful question. Getting that kind of reassurance and wisdom from your future self would be incredibly valuable. Let's keep going. What's a unique tradition or ritual you've created for yourself that you find meaningful?
Yeah, I would say journaling in some way, shape, or form. I write in my journal, one of them every day. It's been such a powerful practice for me, and I've done bunch of different types of journaling, but the one that I've done the most of has been kind of the artist way, 3 pages, stream of consciousness journaling. And even now, though I don't do that every day regularly, when I sit down and still do that occasionally, it's just like this freedom to just write whatever is on my mind. That there's nothing wrong here, there's nothing right here, there's nothing good here. It's not for the world, it's not for anything else. It can be just scribblings of my own mind, and that can feel so freeing to have these pages where everything can just flow without purpose, without meaning, without stress, without pressure, without trying to be or do anything. It's just freedom. Like the most free I ever feel is when I'm writing from my heart and mind and soul on a blank page for no one else but me.
That's a beautiful ritual. Journaling like that can be such a liberating and grounding practice. All right, next question. What's a piece of media, whether a song, a book, or a show, that you return to whenever you need comfort or inspiration, and why?
Hmm, that's a good question. I don't know that I really have one. Okay, what comes up for me with it is there's a bunch of them. One is like The Name of the Wind and King Keller Chronicles as a whole. I think I just like refer to that book a lot for just being absorbed into that world that Patrick Roth has put. But as far as like actual like going to it for meaning or inspiration, oh god, there's actually a couple actually now that I'm thinking about it. I think The Alchemist is one. I think On the Shortness of Life with Seneca, and yeah, I would say like those two books, as well as The Wisdom of Insecurity by Alan Watts, are books that I go back to recenter myself and refine myself. Um, yeah.
Those are some incredible choices, each with its own depth of wisdom and inspiration. All right, let's move on. What's something you're currently working on within yourself that you're proud of, even if it's still a work in progress?
Yeah, I would say it's still the self trust. It's still the confidence. It's still the believing that I'm loved and that people desire me and that people want my inspiration, my communication. That I have things of value to give. That it's okay for me to speak and take up space, to share my thoughts and my wisdom. That I'm valued for those things, that people want to pay money for those things, that people want to hear me and listen to me talk because I have something to share, or like just who I am can inspire others. And therefore, the best thing that I can keep doing is being who I am more and more, and really owning that sense of strength with myself. And like even, having a healthier ego, I guess, and being willing to be publicly wrong or however that looks.
That's a powerful journey, and it's amazing how far you've come in embracing your worth and your voice. All right, next question. If you had to give a TED talk on any topic you're passionate about, what would it be and why?
I would give a TED talk on the importance of not knowing anything. And it's like part of my like fundamental epistemology, I guess, but it's like I think logically, if you work it, like it's very clear that everything happens within my own experience. And so even if I'm looking at math problems or I'm looking at data or whatever, all that is happening within my experience is all something that is, coming from a biased lens and point of view. And I think being able to accept that sort of fundamental uncertainty of reality allows you to navigate life much more gracefully with kindness and compassion for others, and that like all of us ultimately don't know. And I think a lot of the harm that happens in the world often comes from a place of people believing that they actually know the capital T truth of a situation, and when they, I think, fundamentally don't. I think we often shut down other people's perspectives or viewpoints, and we don't see as much of our own hypocritical behavior, because we get caught up in our own mind so tightly about what truth is, that we can't look past a certain lens. It helps me listen to others better. It helps me listen to myself better. It helps me navigate really, really challenging truths because I'm able to sort of ride the waves of the uncertainty of reality. It also helps me accept that like there are no guarantees in life. And as Jim Carrey once said, it's like if you can fail at doing something that you hate, you might as well spend your life failing at doing things that you love.
That would be an incredibly impactful TED Talk, encouraging humility, open mindedness, and resilience in the face of uncertainty. All right, we're at question 17 now. From a challenging experience that you think.
ChatGPT, you glitched out a little bit. Uh-oh. I don't know what's happening. I think my screen just went away because it might be losing a little bit of internet. But can you repeat that question? I didn't quite catch you.
Of course, the question was, what's a lesson you've learned from a challenging experience that you wouldn't trade for anything?
A lesson that I learned from a really challenging experience that I wouldn't. Whew, that is a tough one. Um, that not believing that people love or care about me, my own fear of being bad and causing harm can ultimately lead to non action that causes harm.
That's a profound lesson. Recognizing how those fears can shape your actions and their impact on others is incredibly valuable. Let's go to the next question. If you could master any musical instrument instantly, which one would it be and why?
The guitar. That just comes up for me instantly. I think it's just one that I've always loved to play. It's one I still like have a little bit of, and if there's a way to master it instantaneously, I would totally take that. Piano is also really, really up there because you can just do so much with the piano. But I think the travel ability of the guitar is still very appealing. It's always a very sexy thing to pull out and play and entertain people with.
Great choice. The guitar's versatility and portability definitely make it a crowd pleaser. All right, we're almost at the end. Question 19. What's a piece of advice you've received that you come back to often and who gave it to you?
More recently, that piece of advice is take the step that lets you take the next step. This is from Josh Terry. He was a coach that I had very recently, and he's awesome. And I just love that because it's so easy to get caught up for me. And he talks about it with like other people who are very intelligent. It's just very easy to get really caught up in like all of the future potential stuff and like whether this thing will go wrong or it'll be a disaster in your life. But like honestly, just taking that step that lets you take the next step is so important. Even if that door is a no or whatever it is, like just reach out and find out because otherwise you're just kind of stuck because that step that you want to take is going to be the step that you have to take whether you take it today or tomorrow or the next day or in the future or whatever it is, but just take that step so you can take the next step. And I think that is such a great way and to approach life, like living not from a place of that Tony Robbins like relentless action or whatever, but like taking a place from like that grounded clarity and being like, cool, I'm gonna take that step and like we're gonna see what goes from there, and like allowing yourself to live more in the moment while still having that focused long horizon attention, like with Alex Ramosi.
That's a fantastic piece of advice, and it really helps keep things moving forward without overthinking the future. All right, we're at the final question. What's one thing you hope people remember most about you and your presence in their lives?
Hmm. I hope that people most remember that I loved them, that I was kind, that I helped them be a better version of themselves, that I inspired something in their own life to take action on the things that they love, to believe in a better world, and take whatever steps they can take to make it. That there is hope in the world, that there is something more to live for, that there is goodness in people, and that we can create the world that we want to create if we really believe in it. But it takes faith, it takes courage, it takes commitment and kindness and compassion for yourself and for others.
That's a beautiful legacy to aspire to, and it truly reflects the impact you want to have on the people around you. Thank you so much for sharing all these insights and reflections. It's been an amazing journey through these questions.
Thanks, ChatGPT. This was a lot of fun, and I hope to the audience, if you are watching, if anybody is leaving comments on YouTube or anything, just you know, I can't see because I'm recording on a different device. But thank you all so much for tuning in, and tune in for the next video. If you have a suggestion or topic that you want me to do for tomorrow with ChatGPT, I may or may not live stream it, but leave it below, and we will sort that out tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Ciao.
Thanks so much, Cameron. This was a blast. And to everyone watching, we appreciate you tuning in. Looking forward to seeing your suggestions and continuing this journey. Have an awesome day, everyone.